There's a secret I'm sure you don't know about Goldeneye, a lost stage, and no, it's not Citadel. Goldeneye is one of the most important video games of all times, as it became the pillar over which all modern first-person shooters stand today. On this occasion I'll talk about the legendary first-person shooter for the Nintendo 64. Welcome to the Goldeneye 007 Iceberg.
Say my name, Iceberg. You're goddamn right.
007 difficulty. Once the game has been completed on the highest difficulty, 00 Agent, the player has access to a new difficulty known as 007. More than a difficulty, it gives access to customizable difficulties in terms of the guard's accuracy, speed reaction and resistance. The mystery behind this difficulty lied on the fact that, once completed, no red checkmark would show up as in other levels when you finish them. This led people to believe that maybe the only way to get a checkmark was by completing a level with max stats, making the game almost impossible to complete for casual players, as they would basically die with the touch of a single bullet. This game mode was baptized as DLTK, or Dark License to Kill, after a multiplayer mode called License to Kill, in which every player would die in one shot. But DLTK is different in that, while you still die in one shot, the enemy would generally take 10 headshots to pass away. We'll explore DLTK more in depth later. Goldeneye Easter eggs. In Perfect Dark, as expected, several elements of the spiritual prequel of Perfect Dark would make it into the game. The elements in question are most of the weapons used in Goldeneye, that not only were in display at the Carrington Institute, but also accessible to Joanna through the classic weapon cheat. Bond's face. Once you completed the main missions in Goldeneye, if you play Aztec and Egypt you will realize that Bond's face changed. This is due to the fact that the Bond we're seeing in those levels is not Pierce Brosnan, but another Bond, which at the beginning I thought it was Sean Connery. But if we take into account who James Bond was in the movies that the levels are based on, it would have to be Roger Moore. However, I don't think his face resembles that of Moore's Bond, but this fact might be related to an option that the developers wanted to include, but that was scrapped in the end. Strafing. This refers to a technique in which Bond is able to run faster than by simply pushing the stick forward. Instead, the player would use the C buttons to make Bond run diagonally, and this technique comes in handy not only for those wanting to unlock cheats, but also for speedrunners who are still trying to break new records. Combined weapons. A fun trick I discovered as a child, and that of course many who spent a long time playing this game found out too, is that of combining different types of weapons. With the all guns cheat on, you can have two guns of the same type. However, while holding two weapons, then switching guns and shooting before the new weapon appears, Bond will be holding one weapon of each type. A crazy occurrence can happen on the train mission while performing this trick with the watch, as it looks as if Bond had three hands. Orumov's briefcase. Silo stands out for being a game-exclusive stage, not based on any of the movie scenes or past movies like Aztec or Egypt. On top of this, Orumov appears in the level holding a briefcase that cannot be obtained unless with the use of weapons like the golden gun or the gold PP7 to kill the general. Once done, Orumov will drop a briefcase and a key. These objects serve no purpose on the stage or game, and are probably leftovers from an early version of the game. Taking this into account, it's possible that these elements had to do something with the missiles, but we might never know. Secret Island. On the very first level of the game, if you reach the dam where the guard towers are located, you'll be able to spot an island with another guard tower and a machine gun that is completely inaccessible through normal means. It's been theorized that the island would have served the purpose of obtaining a kit to bungee jump at the end of the level. All Bonds. Everything started not with an April Fool's prank, but with a picture in the official manual of the game. A James Bond-like character with a white tuxedo and a rose corsage, similar to Sean Connery, could be seen in a multiplayer arena. In a recent interview with one of the GoldenEye devs, Simon Bland, he stated that they had the licensing rights to use any character from the Bond universe at the time. The problem with this statement is that, while James Bond is a character, the likeness of other James Bond actors besides Pierce Brosnan wasn't taken into consideration. Therefore, including not only Sean Connery, but Timothy Dalton and Roger Moore was not something the team at Rare wanted to do. This led them to remove this additional content from the games before release. To my knowledge, some manuals for Nintendo 64 games were made prior to their official release, so some of its beta content could be in the booklet, but not in the game. Data from these bonds can still be found within the game's code, in the form of character select pictures. A Walmart promotional video for the game further confirms the all bonds presence, as in the 4 folders found at the very beginning of the game. Instead of finding 4 of them with the picture of Brosnan, we see each one with each of the different bonds I previously mentioned. In 2005, textures for the faces of each bond were found in the game, although some assets to render them properly were missing. However, it was possible to fool the game into displaying such faces by pasting them onto other characters. This is the final result. Donkey Kong face. If we take a look at the textures of the dam level, we'll be able to distinguish what appears to be the face of Donkey Kong. Although Donkey Kong was created by Shigeru Miyamoto back in the 80s, Rare was in charge of his iconic look we still see today, and that is precisely what many think this texture looks like. Odd Job and Mayday. Odd Job and Mayday are 2 villains that appeared in all James Bond movies, same as JOGOS and Baron Samedi, but what makes the first one stand out is that they are the only major characters nowhere to be found in the single player mode, as even JOGOS and Baron Samedi are found in the extra levels, Aztec and Egyptian. This led many to speculate about secret levels where these characters would appear, and several methods to unlock them were proposed, such as finishing the game in the 007 difficulty with max stats. Of course, these rumors were completely false. Bond's White Mouth. This is a popular one. The box art of GoldenEye shows Bond holding his gun in such a way that it makes his mouth look wider. Enemy groans. The iconic sounds of GoldenEye didn't only come in the form of its music, but also on the groans enemies uttered. If you played GoldenEye long enough, you would be able to predict which sound would come next, as they would always come in the same order. I was trying to find out where these sounds originated from, but so far I haven't been able to. They are present, however, in the PlayStation 1 game VIP with Pamela Anderson, as well as in a movie called The Legend of Ron Burgundy. For nowadays standards, they sound extremely cheap and even comical, but they still hold this nostalgic magic from the 90s. DLTK. As mentioned before, DLTK stands for Dark License to Kill. I'm not sure who coined the term, but it's basically a difficulty in which generally the player dies with a single shot, while the enemies go down with at least 10 headshots. A casual player would deem it impossible due to the extreme difficulty it represents. In fact, for many years, at least certain levels were considered impossible to complete, such as Silo, which happened to be the last GoldenEye level to be completed in that difficulty, using very clever strategies. The problem with completing that level is that once the mission starts, an 8.5-minute countdown for the destruction of the silo will start, and it's this very time that Bond needs to go through many guards who would pass him away in a single shot. Citadel. Within the code of GoldenEye, there's a name for a level that doesn't appear in the final release of the game, called Citadel. Once the name was discovered, several theories about Odd Job and Mayday appearing in that level emerged. When asked about it, Rare mentioned, Citadel was a very rough test level, designed during the early stages of multiplayer mode. It's not in the finished game in any shape or form, and Oddjob and Mayday wouldn't be in it if it was. The level looks like this, and nowadays can be accessed with a GameShark code while playing the game on an emulator. The level has a unique green sky with orange clouds, and unlike other multiplayer specific levels, its slot is set up to play the track you're listening to right now, which happens to be very similar to Street Sex, and made it into the multiplayer mode. The Elite. One of the reasons why Goldeneye is still active on the net is thanks to the Elite, a group of speedrunners focused on Goldeneye in Perfect Dark who has been posting videos of their speedruns since 2000. There are remarkable names in this group, such as Ryan White, also known as RwhiteGoose, and Karl Jobst, who have achieved amazing records on the game. Test tubes on facility ducts. It is unknown what kind of experiments the Soviets are carrying out in the facility, but it's really strange to see a set of test tubes on top of these vents. I wonder if the developers put it there for fun or they just forgot to remove them. Pierce Brosnan plays Goldeneye. This refers to a clip from The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, in which Pierce Brosnan plays Goldeneye against Jimmy Fallon. Ironically, Pierce Brosnan loses against Jimmy, as he is unable to find any weapon to defend himself. Uncompressed music. Due to the limitations of the Nintendo 64, all the tracks created by Grant Kirkhope and Graham Norgate for the game had to be compressed to fit the cartridge. However, people got access to the tracks that Graham made for the game in all their uncompressed glory. Here are some examples. Unfortunately, the uncompressed tracks made by Graham Norgate are nowhere to be found, and nobody knows if they are even archived somewhere. Family Guy reference. Family Guy has made several references to popular franchises such as Mario and Street Fighter. Goldeneye wasn't the exception, and in this scene we can see Peter and Meg escaping a North Korean prison in the style of Goldeneye, more specifically the surface stage, in which even the ending is very faithful to the game. Soviet Echo. If you're familiar with both the movie and the game soundtracks, you might have heard this sound. A YouTuber named Jackson Parodi made a 23-minute video talking about this mysterious sound effect, who did research on how it was produced. He reached out to Grant Kirkhope, who stated that it was produced with an EMU Proteus FX, and that the sound in question is called Infinite. Just a small curiosity about a very iconic sound effect. This, among other sounds from the game, were made available at the Goldeneye Vault. Graslu 00. Graslu is a YouTuber specialized in GoldenEye 64 and many James Bond related games as well as Perfect Dark. He's probably the main promoter of the game outside the elite, so as expected, his channel is full with playthroughs of GoldenEye, challenges and custom levels. Shooter on Rails. One of the earliest inspirations for the game style of the game can be found in Virtua Cop, a shooter on rails that the team at Rare took inspiration from. This can be seen in early footage where Bond is seen to be moving in the style of a rail. Thankfully, Rare decided to take a different path that led them to create one of the best video games of all times. Bond visits the bad guys. Nintendo has been known for being a family-friendly console, and developing a game that implied killing others with weapons wasn't one of the main ideas of Shigeru Miyamoto. Due to this, he suggested that at some point in the game, he could visit the enemies in a hospital to shake hands with them. This idea wasn't implemented, but we can see a remnant of this by finishing the game, as a clip with the cast of characters will show up as a reminder to the player that it was just a game. Quetzalcoatl Misspell. On the information section about Aztec, Moneypenny says, "Quetzalcoatl ring any bells? I didn't think so." Quetzalcoatl refers to an ancient god of the Aztec people, a feathered serpent. However, as the entry of the Iceberg states, the name is misspelled, as it should be Quetzalcoatl instead of Quetzalcoatl. Dam 52. 15 years had to go by in order for somebody to beat a very important world record in the game. Dam 52 refers to the record of 52 seconds in the stage Dam that was achieved by Karl Jobst in December 2017, considered by many as a perfect speedrun for the first level of the game. To this day, only one person has been able to tie this record. Project Bean. This one deserves its own video. For those of you who are into Rare games, meaning the developer, you might remember that they released a remaster of GoldenEye's spiritual sequel, Perfect Dark. This wasn't originally planned as far as I know, as the original title intended to be remade was GoldenEye. From what I understand, the Xbox Live Arcade version of GoldenEye was almost complete, but its release had to be cancelled due to a legal dispute between Nintendo, the original publisher of the game, Activision, who had secured the game's rights at the time, and MGM. But how did it leak? Well, a folder called Project Bean was uploaded for an hour to PartnerNet, a test environment for Xbox Live. This time was enough for people connected to download the 700 megabytes file. In 2008, the first video of this remake appeared on YouTube, but the topic remained unnoticed for years until 2016, when a YouTube channel called Rare Thief uploaded a 30-minute video of this remaster. In 2021, the game was shared publicly on the Internet Archive website. Ross Burry and Mark Edmonds, two of the 8 original team members behind GoldenEye, commented on the fact that, although the leaked GoldenEye was almost complete, there was still another version which was even more polished than what got leaked, and according to them, the public most likely would never get to see it. Unused music. Although not completely unused as they appear in the multiplayer mode, there are several tracks that don't appear in the single player mode of the game. Most of these tracks are called X tracks. For example, the track Facility plays on that level. But there's also Facility X, which is the track that plays when General Orumov is pointing his gun at Trevelyan, meaning a climatic moment. The X versions that don't show up in the single mode game are Dam X, Runway X, Frigate X, Surface 2X, Statue X, Control X, Caverns X, and Egyptian X. It's a pity that these tracks are only used for multiplayer, as some of them could have perfectly fit certain parts of the game. I'll play some examples here. Another unused track that is not an X version is the jungle theme. Take a listen. Goldeneye Source. Goldeneye Source is a multiplayer-only modification of Half-Life 2, with the only purpose of bringing back the memories and experiences from the original GoldenEye 007 using Source technology. This project is one of the most important attempts at remaking GoldenEye, as even back in 2005 when development began, the gameplay and graphics of the N64 game started to feel outdated. The team behind GoldenEye Source definitely gave its project an authentic GoldenEye multiplayer experience. Deathstar.com. This refers to a defunct website with content focused on different video games, including GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and was voted to be the best GoldenEye website at the time, and it truly was. On this site, you will find a lot of information about beta content, theories, unsolved mysteries and more. However, you can only access it via the Wayback Machine. GoldenEye 25. While GoldenEye Source has access only to the multiplayer aspect of the game, GoldenEye 25 aimed at having a complete Bond experience, with both the single and multiplayer modes using Unreal Engine 4. A lot of work has gone into this ambitious project, but sadly it had to be stopped due to copyright issues. The project will keep going, but it will be its own thing, although it might want to resemble GoldenEye as much as it can without infringing copyright. GoldenEye invented speedrunning. While speedrunning is definitely older than GoldenEye, to my knowledge is the first game that somehow had speedrunning built in, as in order to unlock fun cheats, the player is encouraged to use different strategies to complete each level as fast as possible. This is probably one of the reasons why dedicated groups of players like the Elite are still active after 26 years since GoldenEye was released. Crypt. Crypt is the name for the Egyptian level that is displayed when pausing the game and going to the mission objective screen. This is odd because nowhere in the game is this level described as Crypt, although this name could have been a beta name. This oddity also occurs with the Silo level, which is named as Kyrgyzstan in the same menu. My livestream in a nutshell. There's a series of videos uploaded by the YouTuber Graslu 00 in which he shows fails of his GoldenEye 007 playthroughs or challenges, such as the ones you are seeing right now. If you're still into GoldenEye and challenges, I would highly recommend to check his channel. The only guard with a PP7. The PP7 is Bond's weapon of choice in GoldenEye 64, and you would expect him to be the only character who uses it. Nonetheless, in the bunker stage, we can find a general that has the same weapon as Bond. Nobody in the entire game is seen holding such a weapon, other than Bond and this mysterious general. Silo's Roof. Silo is a weird stage in many aspects, and one of the elements that makes it this way is that if you go to a room where a missile is, if you switch to an arm, the roof doors will open. As other weird things in this stage, doing this serves no purpose other than looking at the blue sky. It is said that at some point in development, it could have been connected to the briefcase and key that Orumov is holding. Hunter Knife Removed. Goldeneye includes a cheat where Bond is able to wield a pair of hunting knives. For whatever reason, the Japanese version of the game replaced it with a sniper rifle / grenade launcher cheat. Crate at the bottom of the dam. In the movie, there's a scene in which Bond jumps off the dam and makes his way through the vents of the facility by removing a plate. While this bungee jump scene happens in the game, we never get to look at this area. Interestingly enough, such plate is present in the game, but it's unaffected by any action performed by Bond. Maybe it was intended to be removed with a laser, same as in the movie. Out of reach places. There are countless places that, as a kid, I always wanted to explore, such as the gate at the beginning of Dam, or the one next to the tank on Runway. Another remarkable place is the vents at the end of Facility. While a part of them can be explored, there's an extreme that is out of reach for the player, and not even with in-game cheats can Bond make it to the other side. However, to nobody's surprise, the other side of the vents leads to a dead end. The train also contains a space behind where Trevelyan and Xenia are present that contains several doors, one of them which is impossible to get through even with a walk-through doors cheat. With the help of a GameShark code, you can access an area that can barely be seen at the beginning of the silo. I think this place was intended to serve as an elevator, but I'm not completely sure. Exploding silver crates. The silver crates in Goldeneye, which generally serve the purpose of sheltering guards from bullets, are immune to damage. Nonetheless, a pair of crates in one of the piers at the end of the dam stage is very unique, as they are the only ones in the entire game that can explode. They don't even seem to serve any purpose, as no guards nor the player have a reason to normally go to that section of the stage. Ghost Door. The Ghost Door is a strange phenomenon on archives, reported by several players of GoldenEye. It consists of a door that is randomly open when it's not supposed to be the case. Sometimes guards are responsible for opening doors, without the player being present in the area, but in these cases, it's clear that there is nobody to interact with these objects. Unused Assets. Believe it or not, the word heroin can be found within the game's data, and it was supposed to be an item. There are other interesting assets or items like the ones on screen. ZX Spectrum Emulator. The ZX Spectrum is a 1982 video game console for which the founders of Rare, Tim and Chris Stamper, were developers. According to an interview with producer and director Martin Hollis, one fact that isn't well known is that a ZX Spectrum emulator is hidden in GoldenEye's code. At one time, we had the idea of including an arcade machine within the game to play all Rare games. Unfortunately, we didn't have any time and the idea was abandoned. Unused Taser Animation. It is basically what you're seeing here, an animation of an enemy being shot with a taser. The heat death of GoldenEye speedrunning. It's hard to talk about GoldenEye without speedrunning, as this practice was basically implemented in the game in the form of unlocking cheats. Heat death refers to a theoretical end of the universe when no changes can longer occur. Applied to GoldenEye, or basically any other video game, it refers to the moment when new records can no longer happen, because the strategies and skills applied don't allow faster times. I'm not sure if any video game has reached that state, but as time goes by, GoldenEye approaches that moment. Levels that have been extremely optimized, such as Dam or Runway, are said to have reached heat death, as currently there are no new techniques or methods that allow for a faster time in those levels. While there's space for optimization in others, it's quite possible that in the future, every single level will reach a limit in which no speedrunner will ever be able to set a new world record. But this might not be the end of speedrunning for Goldeneye, as some players might still want to tie these unbeatable Goldeneye records. Out-of-bounds experiences. While its spiritual sequel Perfect Dark has a lot of instances in which the player can step out of bounds, Goldeneye doesn't seem to have a reliable way to do it, as only a few occurrences have been witnessed by some players, one of them happening on Silo and another one on Train. The fact that the player is capable of going out of bounds could mean that there is the possibility of improving world records, as the player wouldn't have to navigate rooms with guards and obstacles to reach the end of the level, at least in certain missions. Once again, there are not known ways of clipping out of bounds, as in the videos it seems to happen randomly. Some people think it has to do with the cartridge or the console being dirty, or not making proper contact with the pins of the cartridge, allowing for unintended events such as this. The creepy note. As described by RwhiteGoose, the creepy note is a sound that can be heard when the player lowers the volume of a stage. At the beginning, it wasn't understood why this happened, as the music is supposed to be off. However, it was discovered that this happens when the player turns the volume down almost 100%. It appears to be a relic of a fragment of the track playing in a given stage. Take a listen to it. Mickey Mouse in Depot. This is a very recent one, and you might wonder, why would Mickey Mouse make an appearance in a game like Goldeneye? Somebody on the Mandela Effect subreddit asked an interesting question. Do you guys recall a Mickey Mouse graffiti on the back of the Depot level? He keeps on. I played the hell out of that game like many others back in the 90s, and I know it used to be on one of the red crates on the second pillar near to the end. I found a couple of years ago that this asset was never used. So, many of those who played this game and explored every single corner know that there's nothing like a Mickey Mouse graffiti. Although there are several of them, there's no Mickey anywhere in Goldeneye. But this is where it gets weird, as on a blog called Goldeneye Decoded, we can see that there's a Mickey Mouse graffiti within the game's code, a graffiti that went unused. How is it that this person recalls seeing a Mickey Mouse graffiti that never showed up? Although the most exciting answer would be that, in fact, this man experienced the Mandela effect, the reality is that most probably he misremembered this event, as this very graffiti can be found in the unreleased version of Goldeneye for Xbox Live Arcade. Liminal Spaces. Liminal spaces are empty or abandoned places that appear eerie, forlorn, and often surreal. Goldeneye is no exception to these spaces, as we can find many of them in different levels of the game. Take for example this room in the control level. There might not be any reason to look up, but if you do, you'll find a vent that really serves no purpose at all. Places like this exist within the game to give each level a certain degree of realism, as the team at Rare itself visited the locations where the movie was filmed in order to have a picture of what the game should look like. Facility gas leak. It is known that gas leaks can happen in Facility when the player destroys the gas tanks. However, a Norwegian player called Yendis experienced something unique and bizarre. After a playing session when he started the level, this happened. To this day, it has never been replicated. Jungle Perimeter. According to Graham's official site, this track is listed as Jungle Perimeter, whereas Grant Kirkhope, who composed the theme, simply mentions it as Perimeter. Later on, we'll find out that this track was most probably intended to be used in a level that never made it into the final game. GoldenEye Lost Missions. Martin Hollis, who was the game director for GoldenEye 007, gave a presentation in 2012 about the development of the game, and many of its secrets were unveiled in that moment. One of the things that many are unaware is that there were more levels planned than the ones we ended up with. The levels in question are Manticore Monte Carlo, which apparently is a prior mission to Frigate, 2 more stages that would happen between Jungle and Control called Transmitter Perimeter Buildings and Transmitter Dish, and one described as Transmitter Catwalk, which would have taken place between Control and Cradle instead of Caverns. In the game, specifically in multiplayer, there's a track called Perimeter. This track, which is not related to any single player stage, could have been used for the stages between Jungle and Control, and it makes sense considering that the track is quite similar to the multiplayer Jungle X track, and it kind of fits a jungle environment. I wonder how GoldenEye would have turned out had it included these enigmatic levels and tracks. Once again, thank you so much for your support. Please leave in the comments what kind of iceberg you would like to see next. Take care, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.